Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Road Show. I'm so happy to bring you this very interesting and talented panel this month. We're going to be talking about cozy mysteries. How fun is that? And so welcome. Hopefully we will have some people joining us who can ask questions, make comments. And we're going to talk, I'm going to start by introducing our panel. I'm going to start with Valerie Taylor. Valerie, hi, Valerie. Valerie is actually one of the first authors that I got to know personally. She's the author of the award-winning trilogy, the What's Not series, What's Not Said, What's Not True, and What's Not Lost, and now has made the jump to cozy mysteries. She lives in Shelton, Connecticut, where she is a professional sports spectator and proud grandmother. And Valerie, I don't know if this is the time to mention that the Phillies have won one more game than the Red Sox have as of right now. But
well, don't rub it in.
And never underestimate the Phillies' ability to mess things up.
Or the Red Sox.
We also have Linda Reilly. Linda Reilly is the author of the Grilled Cheese Mysteries.
Hello, everyone.
The Cat Lady Mysteries, Deep Fried Mysteries. She lives in New Hampshire with her two feline assistants. Maybe they'll make an appearance today, but both of whom enjoy helping her with her editing. Welcome, Linda. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for being here.
We have Debra Sennefelder, and Debra, she lives and writes also in Connecticut, and you and Valerie have actually connected in person, which is wonderful. Wonderful to hear. You're an avid reader across a range of genres, but mystery fiction is your obsession, and that's what you channel that into your novels. And you are the author of the Food Blogger Mystery Series, the Resale Boutique Mystery Series, and the Cookie Shop Mystery Series. And not surprisingly, when you're not writing, you're reading or baking. So nice to have you here, Debra.
Thank you.
And Jen Pitt. So Jen, you're coming to us from the Pacific Northwest. You're a lifelong mystery reader, and you've turned that obsession into writing cozy mysteries. And when you're not plotting fictional murder and mayhem, fictional being the operative word here, right? You're chugging coffee. We actually have the same hobbies: chugging coffee, traveling, reading, and just enjoying your life with your husband and your children and your two cats. And so thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to be here.
So cozy mysteries, this is so interesting. I have to start with, I want to know where you get your ideas. And I do, but I have to ask Valerie first, how you made the jump from rom-com writer to cozy mystery writer.
Well, how I did it was I had some of my readers this is probably the why, they had suggested I pursue cozy mysteries because of my writing style. And so how I did it was not last summer, but the summer before, I took a week-long online course on how to write cozy mysteries. And boy, was it was a rude awakening, because it is so much more complex than writing, a straight romantic comedy. So that's my story.
So did your readers, because of your writing style, meaning you have witty dialogue, you have, sort of likable and memorable characters, is that what they meant?
Yes, and dialogue especially, but I think because I kind of write the way that I talk, and I'm kind of snarky and lighthearted, and so that's where they thought I should set my sights. And also I can say I admire every author who writes like historical fiction, because there's so much research that goes into that I wouldn't even know where to start. Or even memoir writers. No one would want to know my backstory. So it's like, if I was going to do something, it would either continue to write romantic comedy, or I decided that the whole cozy mystery genre was a challenge for me. And my personality and my DNA is that I really like having a challenge. And so I've only written one. I'm so humbled to be among Debra, Jen, and Linda, because they're just so successful. So thank you for letting me be among you.
Oh, and yes, I can't wait to get. I mean, this is only the first in your series, though, Valerie. So you're
Correct.
continuing to write. But yes, the other panelists, you've written so many books. So let's talk about first. I know you have various series, but Linda, let's start with you. So where do you get your ideas? How do these ideas come to you?
It's hard to know. I lie awake at night imagining these things in my head. I love watching Hallmark Mysteries. They've changed the name now, Hallmark Mysteries on TV. And I'll tell you, things really germinate when I'm watching them. Just ideas for motives, plot twists, things like that. But they just come from anywhere, really. They come from doing a lot of reading. Reading helps spark ideas. I think that's where a good deal of them come from. I don't look at people and say, "Oh, he would make a good victim," or "She would make a good murderer." I don't do that. But I think just reading and watching cozies on TV help a lot. And just lying awake at night, dreaming up, motives is the hard part.
Right.
The motive has to be realistic,
Right.
as realistic as it can be for a cozy.
And one of the things I like about the cozies are that often the victim is maybe someone who is not well liked. And so it's sort of, that's where everybody kind of comes into being a suspect. But I mean, not always, but that seems to be, there are some common threads. That seems to be one of them. Debra, how about you? Where do you get your ideas?
Everywhere. Everywhere. TV, the news, conversations I might overhear while I'm out and about shopping or running errands. So whatever you say when you're near me, it's possible fodder for a book. So ideas come everywhere. And the hardest part for me is to decide what idea is strong enough to carry a full-length novel.
Yes.
Some ideas are just enough for maybe a subplot, maybe a secondary murder or maybe a third murder. Depends. So everywhere. I'm always on the lookout for a new idea.
Yeah, that's so fun. And I can imagine you're in line at a coffee shop and you hear something and it might give you an idea either for, the murder or the motive or something like that. Like you said, that they can kind of come from everywhere. Jen, how about you? Do you feel the same way, that the ideas just come from everywhere?
Yeah, definitely. My books are all set in New Orleans, so every time I'm in New Orleans once a year. So I take in everything and I write notes everywhere. My husband's gotten used to me just stopping to write something down. I mean, you just get so many ideas just talking to people, walking on the street, looking at architecture. So for me, the ideas just come from everywhere, and it gives me an excuse to go to New Orleans once a year too.
There you go. There you have an excuse to do that. So then so a lot of times so certain characteristics of cozy mysteries, right? And I think we were talking about some of the names of your series, Linda, like the grilled cheese mysteries, the names are just so fabulous. Like, be careful what you wish for.
And I had help with all of those. The first three, the publisher chose, and they did a wonderful job.
Oh.
And then be careful what you wish for. I extended it out to readers to come up with titles, and this wonderful woman, I don't know if she's watching right now, but she came up with that title, and I was so grateful to her because it was just, not that there was brie in the book, but it was just perfect. So I was so grateful to her, but I really have to give the publisher credit for the first three. The first three titles, they were marvelous.
Oh, that's amazing. It's amazing. Up to no Gouda. I just love all the
little puns built in there.
Yes, I love that.
Yes.
So if we have Barbara and Renee who were able to join us. So somehow or another, we pulled this off. So that's love. It's lovely to see you guys, my good friends. So if you get your ideas from anywhere and everywhere, I have to ask, and none of this will be held against you. Do any of your victims, or maybe even your sleuths, based on people you know? So I don't know. I think that's a great question. Debra, are any of them based on people you know?
Not really. There are characteristics I've taken from individuals and put them into characters. Yes. I'm in some, I'm in my main characters, parts of me, Hope, Kelly, Mallory. My brother-in-law is known for his dad jokes. So I put that trait into Kip, who's in the Cookie Shop Mystery Series. And I've only based one murder on something that actually happens in my neighborhood, my street. Not a murder, but the situation that I was able to turn into a murder. So I really don't base characters on real people in real life.
Right. I think, and I think that's pretty common. If we take some characteristic of someone we know that we find interesting or funny, or that we might, characters that we think readers might relate to, and then we sort of work those traits into characters, but as you say, not actually based on a character. Jen, what about you? Ever, is there anyone who ever, you ever, who are the people you want to murder? Like the dry cleaner, people like that,
Well, no, I'm the same as Deborah. Mine are more of a combination of people and little stories or turns of phrases, as someone will say. But I want my family still to like me and my friends, so I don't want to have anyone specifically, especially if it's someone I murder, that they could recognize themselves and then they're murdered lately. But I think it's fun to create these characters. I mean, for me, characters are all people, most of them that I would really enjoy to be with, because my protagonists are all kind of looking for family, looking for that kind of connection. So I've kind of created worlds in which they have the kind of people I think that I would like to be with. And so that way, I'm sure there are a lot of characteristics of my friends and family in there.
Yeah, and I think, it's easy. It's hard to, well, I think it's easy, though, for authors like us to remember that often it doesn't matter whether it's a cozy mystery or a rom-com or women's fiction. A lot of these characters they're just looking for connection. They're looking for, they're on a journey, and, this is certainly a different and more fun way of getting there. But that's still all part of it. Linda, how about you? Do you any of your characters based on real people?
I would say not. If I tried to, many of the bad guys are toxic characters, and I try not to have people like that in my life. I would say that I try to take, like Deborah said, traits of people I know, and I'm trying so hard to make my characters likable and relatable. And it's not necessarily that I know people like that. But that's my goal. There is in Up to No Good, or the first grilled cheese book. I have to say that there was a person. It was the idea came from a murder that happened in Boston about 50 or 60 years ago. It was a police officer who was murdered in a bank robbery, and that kind of triggered the idea for that first book. But as far as who as far as who the killer was. But I would say no. I think, like Deborah said, you take character traits from different people, and try to make them into real people.
Yeah, and that's interesting that in at least that book, it was not based on, but you kind of got the idea from an actual murder. But and I think that's really common, where we just sort of get our ideas from real life, and then we sort of mold them into the stories that we want to tell. Valerie, I do have a sneaking suspicion that you and Venus might be, Venus might be your alter ego. I think people think you're so quiet and shy, but I think there's another side to Miss Valerie Taylor.
Well, A Whale of a Murder, a Venus Bixby mystery, really does have some history, because Venus Bixby was a minor character in the third book of my rom-com, What's Not Lost. And she was supposed to have a more major role in that book, but I had to change it up for various reasons. But I liked her name, and I liked her backstory. So when I decided to do the cozy, I said, she's going to be my sleuth. But my characters really don't reflect people I know, but their names. More so. So like there's a nurse practitioner. Her name is Jean. That's my sister's name. Sherry is Venus's twin sister. And that was my best friend's name growing up. And then there's Cecilia, who is a minor character as well. And that's my granddaughter's name. And my granddaughter, we sit around and we talk, not just plot, but she's helping me create the names for the second book in the series. And so that's where, maybe not the characters, but the names, because I think it was Jen who just said you want your relatives to still like you. When I was writing, when I wrote the first book in the rom-com, What's Not Said, my son one day came to me and said, I hope you're not telling all the family secrets. No, just mine, but not the whole family. So yeah, we have to be careful.
Yes, it's like we said, we do want our families to still talk to us. I actually have a coffee mug that says, "Don't annoy the writer. She might put you in a book and kill you." So I think that's really a good one for all of you.
That's my mouse pad actually right now. What's that saying?
So, Valerie, you bring up an interesting point, and that Venus was a minor character in your third book of your rom-com series. And I kind of do the same thing. I actually, my younger daughter her boyfriend's name is Andre, and I just love the name. And so I'm using that name as a main character in my next book. And we laugh about it because he'll say, "Oh, what am I up to now?" And I'm going, "It's not you. I'm just using your name." But this idea of, Venus was in your other series, and now this is the first of your series, and the rest of you have written so many series. So why is it that the cozy mystery writers, you seem to do a lot of series instead of just standalone books? Why is that? Linda, maybe you can speak to that first.
I think one reason is that readers really want to see more when they bond with these characters, and they grow to love them, and they love the setting, they love the small town camaraderie and these small communities, and I think readers really want them. And I know that at the end of one of my series, people were horrified that I said it's not going to continue because the publisher isn't going to continue it. And so readers really want them. But when I get to the end of one, I really want to start the next one. And I want to have those same people that I've bonded with and that I've learned to love and grow with. I think that's part of it. It's different from like psychological suspense where there's so much tension. And when you get to the end, it's just a relief. But it's different. It's different in a cozy. It's a little town that you want to be part of, and your readers want to be part of, and it's just they feel like they're at home. They're going back home with their friends when they start the next book.
Yeah, and doesn't that
readers say?
Right, and the small town, that is an element of the cozy mystery. That small town, that idyllic town, and it almost becomes a character sometimes. The setting almost becomes a character that I think, as you're saying, Linda, that readers they become close to, not just the characters, but the setting, and they want more. Deborah, what do you think? Is that why you do series instead of standalones?
Absolutely. And and before I was an author, I was a reader, and I loved cozy mystery series. So I really wanted to create my own town, and I was able to do it. And exactly what Linda said, readers want series. They want to keep going back to their favorite town, hang out with their favorite characters, hang out in their favorite spots. And I'm happy to do it.
Right. That's awesome. Jen, what do you say?
Oh, definitely.
Why do you write series?
I write series. Well, it's the same thing. I like the whole characters. I like in a cozy series, for me, it's always there's one mystery solved with it, but you can kind of have an arcing sort of mystery that needs to be solved, or relationships things. So I like that we can see these characters grow and things happen. And I like writing. Right now, I'm only writing 2 series, which is fun though, because things I can't do in my first series because it's traditional kind of contemporary, and one is paranormal cozy. So I can get to do things in different worlds, but it's all still within New Orleans. So, but yeah, it's nice that coming back home. I think our readers come back home when they get to our books.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And Valerie, I know you're already at work on the next book in the series. And so, I think, and in your book, the characters you sort of feel like they're, and I think sometimes it's an unlikely, bond. It's maybe the bonding of like these unlikely relationships, that you wouldn't think these people would necessarily be so close or be part of it, but I guess the murder sometimes brings them together as a community. But so then how do you choose? So Jen, you said all your books are set in New Orleans. Why New Orleans?
Fell in love with New Orleans. I read Interview with a Vampire and Rice. That was in high school, and I just fell in love with the city. Then I started reading every could, like Julie Smith series, Skip Langdon. It takes place in New Orleans. I loved. But I didn't get to New Orleans till I was about 26. I finally got to go visit, and that was it. I landed. It was pouring rain. I was meeting my family at a restaurant down the street, and I had an umbrella, and I was just walking, and I was like, this is home. I just knew it was a place I loved. And my mom even said when I walked up, like, you look at what you're doing, you look where you were going, even though you hadn't been here before. I just fell in love with it. So
you just knew it when you
went
there.
There's so much to explore within the city itself. There's so much history and music and culture. So I feel like I can keep diving into so many different places within the city.
Right. Yes. Barbara's saying writing series makes sense. She just can't imagine writing one. I have to agree with her. I have only one book published. I'm bleeding all over my laptop trying to write my second one. So our hats are off to all of you. So Valerie, how did you decide on your location? I know that you obviously live in New England. How did you decide on your location?
So I keep referring to my first series was set primarily in Boston and then Venice and Paris and Greece. So they're like real places, right? Mm-hmm. And so as I transitioned into writing the cozy, I needed to create a fictional town. And when I was living up in the Boston area, I visited New Bedford, Massachusetts. And they have a fabulous whaling museum there that really kind of impressed me. And so I thought, I can still have this kind of Massachusetts feel, but set it as a fictional town between Providence and the Cape. And so that's how I came up with it. And I had to actually study, and there's all kinds of resources for writers on how to create a fictional town. And I had a map of New Bedford, but I kind of renamed all the streets and the history behind it. But I left some of the there's a whole Portuguese lineage there that I left intact, but it's fictional. So.
It's fictional, right? But it's a real area. It's a fictional town,
right? It's inspired by,
Yeah. Okay. Inspired by, yes. Deborah, how about you? How do you choose your locales?
Well, I chose areas that I was familiar with when I pitched the 3 series, and 2 of the series are set in Connecticut, which is where I live now, and another is set on Long Island, New York, which I was familiar with because I'm originally from New York City. So that's how I chose.
Okay. And Linda, how about you?
In my, I had 4 different ones. The first one, I chose an area of New Hampshire that I just made it into a fictional town. It's about 2 towns away from me. In the Deep Fried series, I used an area in Massachusetts that I was very familiar with because I grew up in the Berkshires, and it's kind of where Lee, Massachusetts is. And I just love that little town and the little downtown. And I kind of created this this area that looks like an old English village in right there, even though it doesn't exist. And I just loved working in that area. And then the third book, I made it in northern New Hampshire, kind of a more remote area. And that's the Cat Lady books. And that's and there are cats, a lot of cats in that book. So I kind of just used a little town there and made it into a fictional town. And the grilled cheese series is sort of like where Bennington, Vermont is. My folks and I used to drive through there every summer to visit my old boss. And every time we drove through, I said, this is perfect for a cozy mystery. And so I kind of chose that, not really loosely though, just very loosely, this little town and the town green. But and I'm a New Englander through and through, so I can't imagine setting a cozy or any book in any place other than New England.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Write what we know and where we know. Right.
Yes. I love, yeah.
And I do want to talk about the animal, Valerie's got cats and the Cat Lady series, but we do have a question. So Meryl's asking, when you start writing a series, do you have any idea how many books? So do you say, okay, I'm going to have 3 books in this series or 5, or do you just kind of see where it takes you? Debra, what do you have any idea when you start to write a series, how many books will be in that series?
No, because I'm traditionally published, so I have contracts with my publishers, and I'll have a contract for X number of books. So it's always hopeful that you'll get the next series, the next 3 books to write. So you never know, really, when you start, how many you'll have.
Okay. Jen, how about you?
I was hoping the books would do well, so I could keep writing them. I'm self-published, so I have control over that. Which is nice. But when I start my second series, The Witches of the French Quarter, the paranormal world was going to go for me, and if my readers would follow along. And fortunately they have, and I found new people. But I had planned sort of a 3-book arc for that Witches series, but knock on wood, it's doing well. And the second book is coming out next week already, and the third ready to go for next year. So I'm hoping if it keeps the same trajectory, I can write more of them, because I really love writing about witches and vampires and werewolves.
Great.
But yeah, no, but my other series, I love it, adore it too. So I'll just keep writing until people stop reading.
Which hopefully will be never. Hopefully they'll never stop reading them. Linda, do you do you have the same situation where it's a contract, or do you know when you start writing a series how many books you think will be in there?
No, similar to Debra, the Deep Fried series, I had a contract for 3 books, which I wrote, and gave them proposals for 3 more, but they didn't want to continue it. I guess it's all about making money. And but they were wonderful to work with. I was pleased that I got 3 books with them. And then the Cat Lady mysteries, I had a contract with Kensington for the first 3. And they wanted to continue with 2 more, which was very nice. But after the 5th one, they didn't want to continue the series. And then the same with the grilled cheese mysteries. The first 3 I had a contract for, and Poison Pen opted not to continue after the 3rd book. And then I found a smaller publisher, sort of a print-on-demand publisher, and that was very, very glad to pick up the grilled cheese mysteries. So I just finished the first of another 3 books in that contract. So I get it. It's because it's what you contract for.
Right. And so, Valerie, do you have any idea how many? And your book just came out. It's brand spanking new. Just came out on Tuesday.
I'm reading.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
And so, do you have an idea in your head of how many books will be in the series?
Probably 3. I think that's my runway.
That tends to be that's your thing.
But when I did this course that I referred to earlier, the instructor said we needed 6 books. And I just kind of said, oh my God, I can't imagine writing 6 books on one topic. But, if I get through the 3, I'll be very, very happy.
Oh, I have no doubt that you will. Venus, I think that there's a lot more for Venus to get up to. So this is another really interesting question that Meryl has. So when you have books in a series, as you all do, is there an ideal time frame between books in a series? Is there an ideal time where, okay, now it's time for the next one to occur or take place? Linda, what do you say to that?
Well, ideally, I would love a year, but it's not realistic, because publishers don't want to wait that. If you're with a publisher, they don't want to wait that long, and most readers don't want to wait that long. So I've pretty much done 8 or 9 months between books, but it's hard to make those deadlines. Sometimes because life intervenes. I just got a new hip, and it set me back quite a bit. So. But I'd love a year, but as long as I'm with a traditional publisher, I won't get a year. 8 to 9 months, I think, is average. There are prolific writers out there who do one every 2 months. I don't know how they do it. God love them. I don't know how they do it, but they do.
I
And
know.
books.
I know of authors that they just keep putting these books, and it's like I can't believe how that, I mean, there are pesky things like eating and sleeping that, sort of get in the way of just, writing around the clock. Anyone else, Deborah, Jen, or Valerie, do you have a thought on that, on whether you feel like or do you agree with Linda? I mean, I think that's really true. In a series, the readers don't want to wait, which I think is why the publisher, and think about it, even when you watch a series on TV, how aggravating it is when you have to wait a year for the next season to come out. Anybody else have a thought on that?
Yeah, I think part of it is our society's gotten so used to being able to binge shows and binge like podcasts, things like that, because there's so many. So even though I'm self-published, I feel that pressure to get the books out. And I'm actually redoing my publishing schedule because I realize I can't write as fast as these other authors who can, like said, can put a book every 2 months. So I have 3 books coming out in 2023, and it was going to be 4, but I finally went, no, it's not going to work. I'm just not that kind of, and you don't want to disappoint your readers, but also I don't want to give them a, horrible book either. So I'm realizing I need to backtrack my time and plan it out a little better. So that's what I have come to the realization, because even though I thought I had more time, kids have gotten older, it's just a different kind of time.
Right. Other things that take up your time. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I had hoped to get the next book out by October because it has a holiday theme to it, but it's not going to happen. So it'll probably be next spring. So it'll be about a year between the 2 books.
I do put in my contracts a year apart. So, but that doesn't mean I'm just working on one book a year. I'm working on 2 to 3. I just schedule my time that I have 12 months to turn in a manuscript for each series. That has been working for me.
I find it so fascinating that, you and other authors can work on more than one book at a time.
I don't work at a time. I work on them in different stages throughout the 12 months.
Okay.
I will not write 2 first drafts at the same time.
Okay. So you finish one and then you move on. But I've had other authors in my panels who say, "Oh, I'm working on 2 or 3 different ones at the same time." And I can't even imagine. But
like right now, I have my manuscript with my freelance editor, so I'm outlining another manuscript.
Okay.
And when I get that back, so that's just how it works.
Right.
And it works for me, and it's a process that I actually can manage and not feel totally overwhelmed.
That's good. So how do you decide? So Valerie, you've got Sonny and Cher. We've got the cats in your book, and obviously in the Crazy Cat Lady series. But how do you decide if your sleuth is going to have an animal companion, like a dog or a cat or whatever? Valerie, how did you? I know you. And the cat in your first series was actually a character. But so what made you decide to have the cats in your Cozy Mystery series?
Well, for me, it was really easy because Topher, as you just referred to, was in the first series. But then in What's Not Lost, as I said, Venus was a minor character in that, and she had 2 cats, Sonny and Cher, and so it was just logical. But then in I'd have to give a spoiler, so I'm not going to do it. Something happens in A Whale of a Murder, which is going to mean more animals.
So people will just have to read it to find out.
I'm reading it now.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Something happens at the end. So
Okay. Well, I'm loving it.
okay, thank you.
So anybody else on that? How do you decide if and a lot of, even when I was reading your bios, I had to chuckle because a few of you mentioned how your pets are actually almost like obviously you're kidding, but like your editors and writing partners. So how do you decide if your sleuth is going to have an animal companion? Linda, what do you say about that?
Well, all of my sleuths have animal companions. I don't think I could imagine a cozy mystery in which the sleuth did not have an animal companion. In the grilled cheese mysteries, the main character has just relocated back to her hometown, and she's opened her restaurant, and she didn't have an animal companion, but she acquires one during the course of the book, and it's kind of a lot of fun the way it happened. And the cat ladies, I had to have cats, and it was really a challenge to have so many cats coming and going, and then because it's a kind of a shelter sort of situation, and their personalities, it was a real challenge. At the end, my editor suggested writing a bio of a cast of cat characters. It helped a lot. It helped to write the future books too, to remember what each cat looked like and what their personality was. So that helped a lot. In the other thing, in the Deep Fried series, it was kind of the same thing. The character had moved back to her hometown, and this stray cat just wandered up on her porch, and she adopted it. So that's sort of the way that we call them rescue cats, but kind of the way it happened. But in the grilled cheese mysteries, I wanted to switch to a dog because I thought that I had so many cats. I thought it's time to switch to a dog. So I created this little Morkie. And the main character named him Havarti. So mainly just for a change, mainly just to get away from the cat theme. But I love cats. I have two.
And people love animals, and so they add that sort of quirky, fun element. But you bring up a good point. It's hard enough remembering characteristics of lot of human characters to carry on in a series of. I can't even imagine trying to do that with cats or other pets. Debra or Jen, do you have are there any animal companions in your books, Debra?
Oh, yes. It was not even a question whether or not my amateur sleuths would have pets. But what I've realized over the past few books for the Food Blogger Mystery Series, Hope has chickens. She has
that's right.
a chicken coop. Yes, chickens.
Of course.
And two of the chickens have definite personalities. There's Helga, who is the dominant hen in the house, and then there is Poppy, and she is a lovable chicken. She's always hanging around the house, and I have readers who love Poppy, and so Poppy is. I'm working on the next book. Poppy is making more of an appearance on the page because I just love the chicken. So I love the animals. I've always had animals, and I can't imagine a cozy without an animal.
That's funny. And your dog was actually on camera with us the other day, so we know.
Yes. Yes. Connie was. Yes, she's taking a nap right now.
She's taking a nap. Jen, how about you? Animal companions in your mysteries?
Yeah, it's funny though. With my first book, The Key to Murder and the French Quarter Mysteries, I didn't plan on Sammy having a cat. But as I was writing this one scene, I felt like I write in first person. I felt like she needed to be talking to someone because it was kind of long. And I was like, oh, a cat should come up. And then I went, oh, hold on. And then the whole scene snowballed. And so that's how she ended up with her cat. But and then my second series, The Witches of the French Quarter, well, they're witches. You got to have a cat. And Althea's cat is a fat orange tabby who's Cajun, and he talks. So it's been so much fun because he's definitely very vivid, three-dimensional because he's talking. He's not just a cat, but personality. He loves seafood gumbo. We're finding out a little bit in the second book. So I don't know. It's been really fun to have that kind of, if you've ever wondered what your animals are thinking, I get to write what he's thinking. And
it is fun, and I love the way all of you do the characters talk to their animals, which I think people do. I don't have any pets. My daughter talks to her dog as though her dog's human and really understands what she's saying. But they develop these personalities, and readers become attached to them. Barbara is commenting that she loves books with animals. She is animals. She always has dogs in hers as well. Cozy mysteries on TV are very, very popular. And so I would like to know which ones you watch, or maybe have watched, or maybe have inspired you. I am watching Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that qualifies. I kind of looked up because I was wondering about that. I was like, I wonder if this qualifies as a cozy mystery. And it does have a lot of the characteristics. It's this one, obviously it's this one building in New York, and it's these three unlikely, Martin Short and Steve Martin and Selena Gomez. They're hilarious. But So do you watch any cozy, and again, it's more, I think more so than the books, there's a little bit more, they're not gory or scary, but there is a little bit more of the murder on screen probably than you would think in a cozy mystery. But so Valerie, do you watch any cozy mysteries, or are there any that are your favorites?
I do, like, a lot. A while ago, my sister had recommended Midsummer Murders to me, and I had never heard of it. And so I binge watched like all 22 seasons. But the first few seasons, I was like, oh my God, there's so much blood and gore, and everybody in this town is going to be dead before it's over. Then I've morphed away from that, and I find that I'm watching two. One is called the Dr. Blake Mysteries, and I looked it up, and it takes place in the 1950s. And then the Murdoch Mysteries that really takes place in like 1895. And I think what I like about them is that how true, if you will, the writers and producers and everything stayed with what was going on at the time. Okay, so they and so you see in the dialogue and the plots how women are treated, for example. Or what's going on, with after the war, in the Dr. Blake Mysteries, and so I like how they're staying true to the historical time frame that they're writing in,
Okay.
and you get ideas too.
Sure, absolutely. Linda, how about you? Do you watch any cozy mysteries on TV?
Yeah, I'm kind of a huge fan of the Hallmark Mystery Channel.
Oh, you said, yes.
It recently changed its name. It used to be Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, and I think people like me were saying there's too much romance. There's too many Christmas ones, that they start the Christmas ones in October, and they recently just changed it. They say they're cozy mysteries all the time, and I love that they use that term, cozy mysteries. So that's really what I spend a lot of time watching that. I love the garage sale mysteries. I just eat those up. That they're so well plotted, so well written. And I mean, they're really amazing. I love Mystery 101. I love this one on tonight, the Martha's Vineyard mysteries. I really love those. I have my favorites. Some of them I don't care as much for, but when in doubt, I go to the Hallmark Mystery Channel. The one that you mentioned, Only Murders in the Building, I've been wanting to see it, but I think it's on a cable network that I don't subscribe to. Is it Netflix or is it something else?
It's Hulu.
Okay.
Is it Hulu? Hulu? Okay.
Hulu,
I'm trying to remember.
I think Hulu used to be free, but it's not now. So I don't subscribe to it.
Okay.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's obviously the cast is great, but it's a lot of fun. And again, it's kind of these three people who it's an unlikely alliance, and it's a very fun premise, about and there they get their title. We only talk about murders in the building, as though that just in itself is comical. Like, are there enough murders in this building to talk about it? And there are. But yeah, it's fun. Debra, how about you? Do you watch any favorite cozy mysteries?
Like Linda, I enjoy the Hallmark Mysteries channels, and I love Midsummer Murders and Agatha Raisin. But the Garage Sale Mysteries, that's one of my favorites mystery series. Yes.
Yeah.
And is that's on the Hallmark? That's on the Hallmark Mystery Channel. Okay, I'll have to check that out.
I know, I'm writing it down actually.
Yeah.
I've seen them all 1,000 times. I know who the killer is, but I still love watching them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I agree with you. Some of the Hallmark, they get to be a little bit, the romances get to be, I think, a little too similar. It's always a girl who moves away, comes back to her small town, and falls in love with a guy who probably owns a Christmas tree farm. It's kind of, it gets to be a little bit, a little bit predictable. Glenn, how about you? Do you watch cozy mysteries?
All the time. Cozy Mysteries got me through COVID. I watched every Agatha Christie movie and series over and over again. But my latest one right now is Madame LeBlanc. It's a British woman who ends up going to this small town in France because her husband dies there, and all these things ensue. It is charming, or funny, and great. And again, it's quirky people who necessarily wouldn't become friends, but in a small town, you do. So it's so much fun. My husband loves it too. So it's nice that we sit there. And of course, by the end of this, show, we're like, do you know who the murderer is? I know who the murderer is. Do you know? I got to keep up my mystery cred. Get it right. But it's a lovely, charming series. I'm glad to have that.
That's nice. Yeah, so I was jotting down a few of them as you were saying them. I'll have to check some of those out. So this has been so fun. I want you, though, before we run out of time, I would like all of you to tell us, and Valerie, we'll start with you. I'd like you to tell us what you're working on now, if anything, and where readers can find you and find your work.
So I am working on the second book to the Venus Bixby Mystery Series, which I hope to have out this time next year. And I do have a website. It's ValerieTaylorAuthor.com, and you can subscribe to my newsletter there. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. They're all crazy. I mean, it's all some form of Valerie Taylor, Valerie E. Taylor, Valerie E. Taylor, whatever. So you wouldn't have known that Valerie Taylor is a popular name. So it was always
until you try to be an author and be the only one with that name, right?
So just as a quick aside, there's a Valerie Taylor who is a shark expert in Australia. So people think I'm her, and I'm not. So.
Ask you lots of questions about sharks,
and she's written a couple of books. So there you go.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Now you're really active on social media. You do such a great job. You've got your trivia that you do, and your music, and you really you're really out there. I admire that.
Thank you.
So good. Readers can find you, and she's not the shark expert for those of you who think she might be. So, Linda, what are you working on, and where can readers find you?
Right now, I'm working on the 5th grilled cheese book, and it takes place at Christmas time. And what's going to happen is that there's going to be a murder at a dress rehearsal of A Christmas Carol. And I am struggling with it a little bit because getting my hip replaced and then the aftermath of it just set me back a little. So I'm running behind on making my deadline, but I may have to ask for a couple weeks extension. But it's really been a lot of fun, and I'm trying to think of 2 grilled cheese recipes that will somehow seem like perhaps one with fruitcake and brie. I don't know, but I want to try to come up with 2 recipes that will sound like it would go with A Christmas Carol. And after that, I have I'm under contract to write one more. And my main character will be getting, I should not, that's a spoiler, never mind. To find me, I'm on Facebook. I do have a website. I don't know if anybody ever looks at it, but it's there. I'm on Facebook. I just Linda Reilly author. Linda Reilly Books, I think, on Facebook. Okay. And I'm on Instagram. I look at Twitter periodically. I don't do a lot there. I have a newsletter that I rarely issue. So in fact, Debra had to convince me to issue one when Be Careful What You Wish For was coming out, because it's just a struggle for me to do it. So that's pretty much, I think I do most of my social media on Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's where our readers are. I will say 2 things. I have no idea why, but all of a sudden I'm hungry for a grilled cheese. And also, if you're having your hip replaced, and good luck with that, but I have a sneaking suspicion that the murder victim in one of your next books might be a physical therapist. I don't know, just a hunch that I have.
That's not a bad idea. Absolutely. My mother is in a long-term care place now. She's 96. I can't tell you how many character traits I get from the old people who live there. You can't even imagine. And I've got ideas churning for future books with it, because it's just amazing the things you see and hear every day there.
Oh, I can imagine. They're so colorful and no filter. The very young and the very old. I can't wait to just be able to blurt out the things that I'm thinking like they do.
Yeah.
That's
So-
awesome. Okay, so Deborah, where can we find you? What are you working on and where can readers find you?
Well, I'm working on my 14th book, and it is a food blogger mystery. It will be out later this year. It's like Linda's, is Christmas holiday themed, and my murder takes place at a community caroling event. So I'm having really fun writing that book. And I do have a website, debrasennefelder.com, where you can sign up for my newsletter. I am on Facebook and Instagram under Debra Sennefelder.
Great. I don't know. I'm just in awe. It's great that the Christmas caroling and Christmas season inspires you to write about murders. I think that tis the season, right?
It is the season.
Tis the season. And Jen, what are you working on and where can we find you?
Sure. My second book in my Witches of the French Quarter mystery, Red Beans and Ritual, comes out next Thursday. So that's up. And now I'm starting on, thank you, the seventh book in my Mysteries of the French Quarter book series. That will be coming out in December. So I'm working on that right now. It's called Happy Homicide. So I'm doing that. And I've been working on for the rest of the series and hopefully a spin-off of my first series that's in the back burner. But where you can find me, I'm on Facebook most of the time. Actually, I'm there every day. So Jen Pitts Mystery Author there. I'm also that name on Instagram. And I do have my website, jenpittsauthor.com, where has links to all my books. And also I have a free short story people can download to kind of get a prequel to the French Quarter mystery.
Oh, nice. Well, I want to thank all of you so much. What a fun topic, and what, I just, again, I'm in awe of how you can just write these series and write so many books, and I'll continue to follow your careers and check out your work. And I want to thank all of you for joining me on the Roadshow today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been a lot of fun, and I enjoyed meeting all of you.
Yes, same here.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.